Hey y'all, welcome to the Dangerously Unique podcast. My name is Core and I am the host, and we are here to get dangerous. Yes, today we're talking about all things trending. We're going to talk about some hip hop beef. We're going to talk about some social cultural issues, and we're going to talk about things that we believe are important and hopefully are important to you. If you're interested in what we have to say, please feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe, because this is going to be an epic show. Welcome to the Dangerously Unique podcast. Let's get dangerous.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are for entertainment purposes only and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any of the entities they represent.
Let's get dangerous. So we are going to talk about now X-Men 97. X-Men 97. There's been weeks. It's been weeks. This show has literally changed my life. Honestly, I'm a better man because of X-Men 97. This is a shout out to Mr. Demayo. I don't know if it's Demayo or Demayo. Like, brother, I think I got it right either. I don't know. I'm going to call you Howmans because whatever mayonnaise, whatever conversation's going on, you are killing it. Like, exceptionally amazing writing, the stories. I'm truly invested. Almost more so invested. It's almost like taking a part of my reality.
100%. I went up Tuesday night till midnight to watch the episode.
I'm a grown ass man in my apartment running around, just all X-Men out. Like, it's something else. But thank you for bringing this level of exuberance back. Shout out to Disney. Shout out to Marvel.
You needed this win.
It really is a vibe. We are probably not going to talk about every particular episode. I know Grizzy does a little separate episodic review, which you can check out. We're just going to have a general conversation right now in relation to X-Men 97. This is a spoiler alert. It may be a spoiler alert for those who have not seen it, but if you have not seen it, I'm sorry you have not seen it yet. But please do. It is well worth the watching. But what do you think about X-Men 97?
I think it's the best animated show. It's just one of the best shows I've seen on anything in the last 3 to 4 years. It's the best animated show I've seen in a really long time. It's, as far as animated, like, to be fair, like, Marvel's been killing with the animation. Between this and Spider-Verse, like, it's top notch writing, amazing character. Like, the characterizations are so great. Like, and like, as someone who grew up reading the comics and like knows a lot of comic lore and a lot of X-Men facts, Marvel facts in general, the fact that they finally took the time to take it back to what it was in the 90s and made every character outside of Wolverine the more like important, I appreciate that so much, because the thing is, like, I did love Wolverine as a kid, but after time I got burnt out of like why it's the central character for everything.
If he never spoke again in the whole series, I'd be okay with it.
I don't know about that. I did appreciate.
I'm sorry. I said what I said. Like you said, I'm burnt out. Like, I feel like Wolverine has taken up more space. I think that why they leaned on Wolverine is because they leaned on Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
I think that is more so about Hugh Jackman more so than the character.
Yeah.
And they wanted to explore him, and congratulations to him and the career that he's created based off of the fact of being Wolverine. Like, good for you. Congratulations, brother. But I feel like it did a disservice to every other character and to like the multiple storylines that exist.
Yes.
Because the reason why X-Men hit so hard is because the storylines hit so hard. It's funny because X-Men particularly is supposed to be about a conversation of discussing marginalized communities, specifically dealing with people of African descent, the diaspora, as well as people within the LGBT community, as well as people in the trans, or anyone who just feels other for that predominant ideologies. But then the person and character they choose to focus on in the films is Wolverine, a white man.
a white man, like, and the thing is, like,
I'm just saying.
No, I'm agreeing with you because the thing is, like, if they had actually authentically made the character what he was in the comics, it would have made more sense because Wolverine in the comics and the show was like a short, gruffy, hairy Canadian white guy. He doesn't fit in anywhere because he doesn't look like he fits in. So if they had made that look like, you couldn't get a Hugh Jackman to do that, but if they had casted somebody who looked like Wolverine, it would have made more sense for him to be the outcast.
I really almost thought Wolverine was indigenous, like Native.
That's what I think too. I think Wolverine might have been like
I thought he was like a forge.
Yeah, I feel like if they when they do remake the movies, it would serve the characterization of Wolverine better if they did make him indigenous, because it speaks a lot to like how Canada has handled indigenous cultures, indigenous people,
or Métis or
something like that. You know what I mean? Because he was also like, he was from like Alberta, I think, is like where he actually was from. So like, and Alberta has a wild history of racism when it comes to indigenous people. So that would be like a deeper cut. But like, that being said, the rest of this cast and the rest of the characterizations is amazing. I particularly love what they've done with Cyclops. They made Cyclops like essentially like the more badass version of Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
I love what they let Jo Marie start to grow and use her powers differently. I love how I love the deep introspective moments with characters we kind of blew off before, where like Jean and Rogue and R.I.P. Gambit, spoiler, and you know what I mean, like, and like Magneto. Mm-hmm. Listen,
yes,
listen.
Yeah.
After X-Men First Class, I was more Team Magneto than Charles because it made more sense for me. I was like, Charles is what you idealize as a child, that we can all get along. As you become an adult, you realize Magneto was right. And god damn it, the last episode, Magneto was right. And he has every right to want war with the humans, because if you're a minority, and there's a certain point I feel like most of us have ever gone to, especially if you're Black or Indigenous or Hispanic, where you just kind of like have this thought where you're just like, you know what? If we went to war today, I would happily go after all you guys. Because you can't leave alone. Even if I'm minding my business, out of my way, like not causing you any harm, you still try to harm me. And say, I can't get a moment's peace, even if I try. So why give peace a chance?
Well, I guess it's that conversation when you look at the history of, if you're specifically talking about racial conversations between Black and white people or anybody outside of the community, it's like, it doesn't matter if I am dressed in a suit, or if I'm dressed right now, or if I'm looking like all baggy jeans out, whatever. You're still going to treat me the same.
You're going to treat me the same.
At the end of the day, that's just kind of like the conversation. Kind of what it is. It doesn't matter. And so all that conversation of the politics of, if you would pull up your pants, or if you would speak more eloquently, if you would have your hair cut a certain way, or if you would move a certain way, it'd make it more easy for you to be more palpable and more for us to be interested in working with you. It'd be a softer take. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And I think that's the conversation whether Magneto was right. It's just like, it doesn't matter what you do or how you show up. Again, if this person has an issue with you, they have an issue with you. And it's not even having an issue with you, it's they have an issue with themselves. Yeah. And they can't get over it. Yeah. They can't get over it. It really has nothing to do with you. So that whole entire situation, Magneto's right. It's just like, yo, like, I am a mutant. I am what I am. Yeah. Like, I'm literally God in physical form. Yeah. I have God level power in physical form. And you're terrified of that because you believe that I'm going to use that to harm you. Yeah. But then realistically, my intention is not on you at all. I'm just trying to live. I'm just trying to live. But then the fear that you have of potentially, but what if I do turn, has gotten you now spinning your wheels in your head, thinking I got to get rid of this person because potentially, if I don't get rid of him, he's going to get rid of me. And so it creates this whole entire awareness of like boogeyman conversation, or where there's like somebody outside of you, and that you even have the power to control people outside of you. Do you think you have the power to control people outside of you? You don't. You know what? You don't have the right to control people's actions. But it talks to that point of like, if we can manipulate or control these individuals, then we'll be safe. But realistically, it's just like, you're not safe. Who you need to be worried about is yourself. Who you need to be worried about is, are you safe? Because if you're not a safe space, then you ain't ever going to be okay. And I think that this show leans into these types of themes and conversations, which is why I really, really like it. That's why I really mess with it.
Yeah. Something you said that like I kind of clicked on was just like Sebastian, the bad guy of the season. Mm-hmm. What he's doing reminds me a lot of COINTELPRO. So little history lesson. Back in the 70s, when late 60s, early 70s, when Black liberation was on the rise, because we just lost Black African American culture, just lost Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Civil rights movements was happening, and it was happening. Black liberalism, Black nationalism, and liberalism was taking place in all across America, where Black communities would start to take care of their own, defend their own, or whatever. J. Edgar Hoover who was the director of the FBI at the time, used the FBI as a weapon against Black sovereignty and Black individualism and Black liberation. And he would get people to basically be spies within these organizations, like the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers was the main one, like Pan-African movements, like everything else, and insert spies to essentially collect information and dismantle these organizations from within. And so I find with like Bastion, and I can actually make the juxtaposition of like Bastion and J. Edgar Hoover very well, because it's like they both very much believed that what they were doing was right, and they were very much afraid of what would happen if these minority groups, mutants or Black people, came together and built their own thing and decided they didn't need us.
But then the side note is too, J. Edgar Hoover was actually like a closeted homosexual. And similar, Bastion is a closeted robot.
He's a closeted robot.
So he's pretty much like the same thing,
right?
He's like attacking a minority group when he is a minority group.
He's actually, because Bastion essentially was born that way, he's essentially a mutant.
He is.
So he hates him. Everything he hates about them, he is himself. Yeah. Right? And it's very telling when you see this, that you can make these connections between like...
It's deep, bro.
The show and how this works, and how they move, and how like these characters are so like one thing I think the show does very well is it explains races, like the race hate so well that you, even as a kid, I got the idea of X-Men, but as an adult you really understand it, because it's not so much that these people hate, they fear mutants and they hate mutants. Like Bastion is like a true believer. Like he really believes the world will be better if we control and subjugate these people, because then we can use their power, their strength and their powers for the betterment of everybody, instead of them getting better themselves, right? And like that's why when you see the whole thing in Genosha is so heartbreaking, because it's kind of like when it's kind of like Tulsa. It's exactly like Tulsa.
It's like Tulsa, but he also, because the writer Demayo, he is part of the LGBT community. Oh, Orlando. He referenced the Pulse nightclub that he would frequent. Pulse nightclub basically got shot up and just obliterated, similar to like the conversation happening on Genosha on the show. Yeah. This place that's supposed to be a haven for people who are disenfranchised or marginal groups of people, and it basically gets targeted by, by those who have issues with, which would be in the show Friends of Humanity. Yeah, Friends of Humanity,
which is Bastion when they sent the Mega Sentinel to essentially kill all the mutants all at once. And a lot of that time, and that again, like that's like with Tulsa, that's with the Pulse shooting, that's anytime black, brown, or like clearly LGBT like people congregate in a certain area, there's a concerted push to destroy that space, because that collection of us people being different minorities in one place, terrifies the powers that be, who also have a lot of racist undertones. Even locally, we could even make that assertion with
it's just the truth. It's just it was illegal. Loitering, for example.
Yeah.
Loitering was a law that was created to basically stop black people, 2 or 3 more black people, congregating in a space.
Yeah.
And like I said, in other spaces, that specifically where we've lived in growing up, that was an issue. Like anytime there'd be a group of black people around, there'd be
whoop whoop.
Yep. Whoop whoop. Alice would show up. Yeah. Alice would come through, and they'd be like, "Yo, you know, you guys gotta dismantle. You guys gotta move away." And it was always kind of
why.
It's like why? Like I didn't understand the reason why. But then when you come and look at the history on these lands, since they have been colonized, that's just the situation. Exactly. Any potential group coming together is seen as a threat to the infrastructure.
Right. Exactly.
It's kind of like that awareness of. They just talk about it in the show being like left behind. Like you don't want to be left behind. You don't want to be the group of people that is basically out of the conversation, no longer involved, because then you're losing power. Right. And this idea that the mutants were basically due to the Friends of Humanity or the normal people, what they've done to them. So there's a fear of that retribution for.
And that's a thing that most black people experience all the time. Is like white people have this innate fear that one day we will, black and indigenous especially, will rise up and inflict the same horrors that your ancestors did upon us when we just want to live, right? And I feel like personally, like the name of the last 3 episodes, like tolerance is extinction. I think that's very telling, because I think that's also the way a lot of us feel now. It's like, most of us will not tolerate your bullshit anymore, because to tolerate that means that we're going to continue accepting the pain and suffering that these institutions and these racist agendas cause on our people, which will eventually lead to extinction, like we're kind of seeing in Palestine.
Totally. I think bringing Palestine into the conversation is a great segue into that conversation, but also, like you're saying, tolerance, is extinction. It's almost like the elimination of who I am.
Yes.
The more that I'm around, the more I'm being asked to sacrifice myself and my identity to be something necessarily that I don't know I even want to be.
Yeah.
I don't even know if who you want me to come is somebody that I'll be happy with at the end of the day. Or sacrificing who I am authentically to connect or to be in a space where we go along and get along, it will actually be worth it. But the history at the end of the day has shown it's not. It never is. And there honestly is there's never a limit to how much you're going to constantly be asked to sacrifice in that particular space.
No, I can't.
And to the point where almost all of who you are, all of your history, all of your culture, all of your identity will be taken by those same people who are asking you to sacrifice it, and will be used against you.
I still can't, as you were saying that, I was like thinking, I'm like, I can't think of one instance where us having to be tolerant of others has served our community in a positive light. Without something being taken from us, something being stripped from us, something being taken from us, something being forced upon us, something being being fed something that wasn't true to benefit others, or to basically to silence us. Like every time we're asked for tolerance, we're basically, what that's asking is just to give, like you said, to give something up. And I think what X-Men 97 does so well, that a lot of these brain dead, half-assed commentaries on on different cultures and black culture and all stuff, does so well that they can't, is because they actually use because they have the settings of mutants, and because they can actually, the hate in the world is so palpable, and because you can see the difference between the changes of mutants are superpower people, and so are the Avengers, but the Avengers are heroes. Right? Mutants are the bad guys. So you can definitely see, and because they can layer that so well, you can understand and feel, especially if you are different than what is considered as the normal in North America, in the Western society, that this is really how we all feel. And this is the truth of how we all feel. And being able to explain that in such a way that expands, not just in our, that like we'll not understand for this generation, but in many generations, that this is how we are feeling right now. And putting the pulse on our emotional heart right now is something that that makes the shows very special, that a lot of other shows fail in like perpetuity to do.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely, yeah, that was an interesting point, the conversation between like the juxtaposition between the Avengers and then the mutants, and then the same Marvel reality. But here, these people with powers being seen in such a positive light, and then here, these other people with powers who necessarily are being seen as evil and devilish and just horrid. And it's like, how is that even, you know? How is that situation? I know that, you know, in Spider-Man, there's, you know, J. Jameson, he's always a skeptic, never, like
anything.
Those people, like he doesn't, but there's so much people that benefit from Spider-Man that it's almost...
Yeah, it almost drowns it out.
It almost drowns it out. It's like, people like the neighborhood Spider-Man. They appreciate him. When you look at Captain America was made by the government.
Yeah.
When you look at Iron Man was also made by Tony Stark,
who was a war profiteer for the
American government. The Black Widow was also an op for the Russians, or wherever she came from. I can't remember where she was from.
Thor is a long blonde-haired Norse god. The only Avengers that of any significance that like spoke to different ways of being was Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, and
Scarlet Witch isn't she Magneto's daughter?
Yeah, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, they're both Magneto's kids.
Yeah,
and in Black Panther, like, you know what I mean? He was comfortable playing the background because he had a whole country to run, right? Mm-hmm. So like the people they put front are the idealized version of what they think America should be. And then if you juxtapose that with like X-Men, who are like the shameful underbelly they try to make them look like, of these freakish people.
But the thing is that
but they're everybody.
Yeah, but it also goes to the point of mutation, right? Because mutation, you can't control a mutation.
Yeah, exactly.
Mutation is a random thing that happens. Like you don't choose to be a mutant. You just are a mutant.
You just are a mutant.
You know what I mean? And it can't be, like, again, it can't be quantified. It can't be caged. It can't be, like, you would have to cage it and study it. Which is what they're trying to do.
What they're doing.
What they're trying to do with the mutants. They're like trying to unpack, because it's like, we can't control this thing over here. And so the government is comfortable with the Avengers because it's like, we can control them. We know what they are. We know their allegiances.
Yeah.
But with these mutants over here, we have we have no control.
And what I will say this, the one things that the movies did pretty well was show like how horrific it can get for mutants when the government gets involved and tries to take you. Right? Like Logan, still one of the best ones. That whole thing when you realize that like Laura was she was basically born and raised in a cage to be used as a weapon, and that's how they're treating all these mutant babies. It's like, that's what, again, historically, what all the colonizers have done to every other country that has people whose skin color did not look pale and sickly.
They want the assets that you have that make you powerful, and they want to use that against you to control you.
Exactly. And I thought the movies did that part very well.
This is a deep conversation. It's a 360 conversation. Because like when we talk about culture vultures, it's like the same type of conversation.
Same thing. It's
like,
the same thing.
Let me take the things that make you powerful, let me study it, and then use it against you to control you.
At the expense of your own, your safety. You and all your other people. Let me use you to destroy your people. Right? Which again, with J. Edgar Hoover comparison, he did, because the people he would insert into these in these Pan-African and Black Panther movements were also Black people who were coons, essentially.
Coons are also who were just caught in bad situations. Yeah. And that were exploited for certain assets. Like, I believe the guy that Huey P. Newton, or Fred Hampton, yes, specifically Fred Hampton, in that movie, The Black Messiah. Where the guy that ended up killing him pretty much was just a down badass brother who basically was caught in a situation and was exploited for that by the government. to continue to attack himself and his own community, and to the point where he ended up taking his life because of the consequences of taking, Fred Hampton's life. So it's deep. And even I think that, I don't know if the show will touch on that, because that information is there for them to use in their canon if they wanted to, because they seem to be using real world stuff. But personally, again, for my thing, X-Men 97 is pretty much like a perfect show.
I've never been so happy with something before. Like I actively don't want them to change the scheduling or anything. I don't want it to get streamed all at once. I want to wait for it every week because this show is so goddamn good. I will wait for it until midnight every Tuesday from now until the end of time.
And it provides you with like some deep reflection. There's a lot of subject matter that they're talking about and allowing me to process. The monologues, literally, I love Nightcrawler.
Yes.
He's coming in with that level of like spirituality or like
hopefulness,
awareness of just like, that to give us a higher perspective on things, which I really appreciate. And I also appreciate when people have their deep introspective awarenesses. Like everyone has that moment of like, whether it even be the lady that everyone thinks is Mystique.
Val Cooper? Yeah, Val Cooper was talking about the Magneto speech. She was talking about how when Genosha happened, she was horrified, everything was terrible, but she wasn't surprised. Because she knew that like this is the cycle. Every time that like people try to get their own, people on the outside will always come in and destroy it. And it really made me realize that the one thing was true. Magneto was right. Yeah. That's also when Magneto decided to hit the whole world with a massive EMP, which is badass.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And that's exactly it. That's exactly that point. And I think that again confirms what we're talking about. Just like the fact of doesn't matter what you do, if the op sees you as a way, the op sees you as a way.
Yeah.
And so you can negotiate with this person all day, but are we really changing a leaf? Are we really moving forward if in your core perception of me is that I'm Val, or that I'm less than, or that I need to be controlled, or that my perspective is not valid? If that's what's really happening at the end of the day, then it's pointless. And then it's like, really, why are we having the conversation?
Exactly.
Why are we doing this? Like, and I think that's something that people really need to think about in general. It's like, why are we having the conversation? Why are we electing and participating even in these political arenas or exchanges when you're really not trying to do anything?
No,
you're really just trying to occupy my time and my energy for as long as you can in this particular space, and you can utilize me, enslave me for your benefit until you dispose of me, when you no longer find me useful.
Yeah.
And that is that. But before we move on to our last topic, once again, it's 10 out of 10 for me.
10 out of 10 for me.
Dope.